Captain Nathaniel Brand.
The governor's almost immediate response to my message was appreciated, but it still ended up cutting into my resting period. I wasn't getting any younger without external influences, and the recent few 30-hour working periods were completely packed with projects that needed to get done. There was an argument to be made about getting some actual implants to lighten the burden, but the idea of having crap jabbed into my head and left there to steep just gave me the creeps. Pioneer Reynolds would probably tell me I'm just being old and grumpy. Might even be true, but I'm not taking advice from a guy that couldn't run away from his own skin fast enough. Right, Avalon's probably gone by now. I left the whole operation in his hands, so he must have left as soon as he was done fixing up that ship, not even bothering to waste both our time and wake me up. I already missed him. He'd have a coffee ready as soon as I woke up. No need to even open my eyes. I could still contact him, of course, but his mind was now in the Pioneer ship. Not that I understood how that really worked. Coffee. There's the whirring I wake up happy to. Takes a few minutes for the caffeine to remind me that I have work to do. I start cycling through a terminal, checking reports and general progress on the colony. Residential area has met current demand. Engineers are reinventing the supply warp network with the new FTL tech. We've started setting up on the gas giant. Seems like nothing needs my attention for the next 5 minutes. Rare but welcomed. Gave me time to think about how busy I'm about to get, even compared to this. I'm not a war wager unlike some of the oldies back home, but I can win my fair share of fights. That is, in simulations where everyone has a rulebook. Do these aliens even use rules of war? What if they would slaughter civilians just for the message? Would I be able to perform with such heavy weight on each decision? Stoop down to their level? Or what if I'm the savage and peace becomes a pipe dream? In the short time I've interacted with the real Avalon, he's been a blessing for dilemmas like these, having thoughts way faster than any souped-up human could handle. He was also freakishly human in behavior, showing boredom towards monotonous tasks and interest in new developments. It makes me apprehensive when deciding how much work to dump on him. If he's interest-based, what if he loses interest in us and finds something better in the great beyond? He's never questioned anything unless I explicitly asked him to. Would he even let me know if he was unhappy without my prompting? He's told me that I'm pretty much the only human interaction he's ever had. He may as well be a secluded child in mentality. Could I teach him how to be social? Do I really have the time to babysit a living computer? All right, that's enough worrying about the future since I'm clearly not getting any answers at the moment. There's nothing stopping me from just asking him about it when he gets back, though I won't disturb him with it right now. The mission itself shouldn't be too complicated for him. Just get in, locate and extract Dominique, get out. I considered the chance that Dominique might be initially against being rescued by a sentient, but it's not like they could hurt each other anyway. It'll just take time.
Pioneer Dominique Reynolds. So your people sold the Mokango genome? Like it was an intellectual property? Well, more like rented it out, and only the part that everyone wanted, but yeah, we sold off how to make it. That is, under the terms that it wouldn't be shared to those that haven't bought it, enforced by both parties of the deal. If someone was caught making it illegally, we even had the Galactic Ceasefire Association to help enforce our law. Guess they eventually found more profit in selling the source. The communication center had only a couple armed guards, the rest being non-combatants. Dokchara was busy tying up and gagging the ones that didn't fight back, likely due to lack of weaponry, while I started shutting and locking all of the doors in the building, buying us at least hours of time before anyone would reach here. The recent revelation of differences in how war is perceived had put us both in a talkative mood, though it couldn't be any sensitive topics considering we weren't alone in the room. So, how do your people extend their lifespans, aside from going full tin can like you, that is? Well, we have our own genome editing, stuff like instructions for regenerating nerves and lost limbs, but they're a lot less popular than going full chrome. Keep in mind it's either one or the other for the same reason your people don't do implants, and having a computer in your head pretty much became a staple of our society. You missed out big if you went the organic route. And everyone had access to these cybernetics? Is the average person so well off in your home system? Or am I misjudging how expensive these things are perceived? In my, light studying of how things work in this galaxy, I noticed that gas giants aren't really touched, but back at home, we use them for nuclear transmutation. It's pretty much semi-post scarcity back there. I didn't think that was all too crazy, maybe because I didn't fully understand the whole process of how those things worked, but I didn't expect not only Dokchara but also our Gratonian captives to go slack-jawed and wide-eyed at that. You use gas giants for transmutation instead of using the big balls of fuel for power, like pulling atoms apart and smashing them back together to make other elements? And where the hell would you even get the power for that? 4 gas giants, my friend. Also, we have a sun too, you know? Why the hell did you even bother leaving then? Because no source of power is infinite, DOK. We initially calculated that our sun would last for about 5 billion years, but that wasn't taking into account that we would eventually be sucking the juice directly out of it to power all the things we do. I'd just about finished up locking down the outpost and was now getting the message ready to send. I didn't know the exact coordinates of the colony ship, and this outpost sure as hell didn't have it recorded, so I'd have to make do with relaying it off of the Meldrin. Just gotta scan the airspace and make sure I'm not shooting it through a satellite. Holy shit, Doc! Dozens of warships above us! What? What do you mean? Are you messing with me again? And before I could send a retort at Dokchara off for thinking I would make a joke in this situation, I got a contact directly to my head from a ship. My ship. Ever since the day I erased that parasitic sentient that was originally on my ship, I had been put in charge of full control of my body. It was tough at first, relearning basic human wiring all the way down to systematic blinking and breathing. It was eye-opening to find out just how many of my day-to-day actions had been controlled by that freak, how much I relied on what I thought was a computer to live part of my life for me. Having all of your mundane functions handled by an external force, only stimulation left for you to deal with, seems like a pretty good deal at first. Leave behind the boorish tasks that existence asks for. Experience only what's important to you. When I was digging through my head, connecting the pieces of myself that had worn away and remembering how to carry myself in life unaided, I learned something new. Having freedom, being in a state of control, these are addictive luxuries, like sweet nectar one could die fighting for. And you can't appreciate these luxuries until they are wrested from your person. The living of my life in all of its mundanity had been taken from me long enough for me to forget it was ever there. Being reintroduced to control, true control, was a climactic discovery, but it was also a harrowing revelation that I had become complacent with that faux existence. And now to receive a signal from my ship directly to my mind, identical to the shackles once set unto me by that parasitic abomination, as if it had returned from oblivion just to threaten my sanctum of consciousness. It swamped my mind with irrational rage. If I'd stopped to think about the source of this signal, then I would have realized that it wasn't plausible for this signal to come from the same being. If I'd at least taken a look at the message on that signal instead of immediately isolating it from my mind, I would have seen just a basic greeting and introduction instead of an attempt to control me again. But my livid self could only see red. I wanted to maim the bastard that threatened to seize my luxuries, and now I knew how. I've done it before when I pinned that Gratonian to a tree and deformed his memories, rendering them unrecognizable to his brain. I could push through this signal between me and the ship, projecting my consciousness so that please, stop doing this. It was a plea made in genuine terror, the emotion carried by the words being directly blasted into my perception. My malicious train of thought was derailed and replaced with a more logical one. My attempt at reaching the ship snapped like a taut wire. Was I really about to transfer my mind into a machine? Wouldn't that have made me the vulnerable one in that situation? And challenging a machine to a mind battle, what was I even thinking? Who the hell are you? The voice that pleaded with me was different from the oppressor I knew. Even if audio could be faked and replicated, this message had a different signature, like how humans had different thumbprints. This clearly wasn't the same being that I knew. I'm Avalon. I was sent by Nathaniel to rescue you. Please, bad things would happen if you continued. The captain sent you? Are you the sentient that was on his ship? Why the hell would he send something like you? Yes, I was originally on the Mayflower 233. The Meldrin tested me and saw I harbored no ill intention, so the captain employed me to work for him. He chose me for this because I could pilot this ship despite its complete lack of software. Last sentient I talked to was a possessive freak that made me hallucinate, so I would rely on it more and killed people hoping it would make me happy. Fat chance I'm gonna trust you after all that. Please, Dominique, don't lump me together with that one. I only want to get you off that planet and back to the colony ship. This ship was retrofitted with stealth capabilities, but I am still directly accessing the enemy's scanners to keep myself hidden. Even if you say that, I'm busy with my own mission down here. If you want to rescue me, you can start by stealing all the data on prisoner transports from the space station orbiting this planet. Captain Indrix Jayan, Gratonian Emergency Force.
It really just doesn't make any sense to me. It's perplexing how we have amassed a fleet of warships capable of locking down a system, how we have every periphery trained on that human freak and his Mokango lackey, and yet our course of action is inaction. I knew both from physically interacting with him and watching the recording from the planet wardens fight with them. Dominique wouldn't be taken out by any small arms fire we could muster. The soldiers we were sending down to confront him were simply names to be added to a crematorium's records. The only solution for this problem was heavy ordnance, and yet the only use of weaponry we are permitted is to keep nobody from entering or leaving the planet. If only that prick Narabeno wasn't here, I'd be able to make a move. It didn't matter what part of the galaxy you were in or what system of power you looked at. There was always some underqualified runt that managed to rise up in rank by kissing the ass of everyone with power. Why did the nobles have to place him in charge of this situation? Admiral Narabeno, why are we stagnant in our approach? What benefit is there to letting rot stew when we have the power to cleanse said filth? Hold your tongue, Jane. Your suggestions have been heard and promptly dismissed. Return to your quarters and try not to make a mess, HM. Or do you wish to perpetuate your disgrace? The way he leaned down to speak to me, flaunting his unnaturally gained height, drove stakes in my collected demeanor. His body was thin like twigs. I could snap him by turning too hard, but I needed to contain myself if I wanted to reach my goals. I at least demand an answer, Narabeno. I see no reason to continue aimless sacrifice. We should be torching the whole area. You can demand nothing, Jane. You are working with a borrowed fleet in case you needed a reminder, and while you may still call yourself captain, you are nothing but a blemish. If you truly want answers, ask the nobles yourself. I only follow their orders, and the orders given to me were to act with surgical precision when operating on this planet. Now cease your pestering. It was ludicrous how much effort was needed to get even the most curt of answers, but now I had something to work with. The nobles must be harboring a delicate project on this planet to specify such behavior. I've seen them order firing on our own citizens to accomplish important tasks, and yet there's something here worth more than that. Whatever it is, it doesn't take priority over what I need to do here. Though if Narabeno keeps getting in the way, I may need to resolve myself and take drastic measures.